All right, so 5 minutes is a pretty short amount of time to get through this entire journey. So let's get right at it. We're going to go through the beginning, the middle, and the end. One of the things that you find in the beginning, whether it's Luke and Dorothy on the farm, or it's you ready to bring change to your organization, or it's all of us trying to bring change to our larger world, there's always some sort of tension at the beginning of a story between that which wants to bring change, that which is ready for growth, and that which is resisting it, like the skin around a serpent that's outgrown itself, right? This is where we are today. We are ready to outgrow the status quo of our world. The status quo as far as how we engage with energy, how we engage with pollution, how we engage with our economy, and how we engage maybe even with capitalism. But even though we're ready for this growth, there's a lot of natural momentum in the status quo, resisting that change. This is normal. This is that starting place. But something's going to happen, what a screenwriter or filmmaker might call an inciting incident. This is what your Marshall Gantz might call a disequilibrium event. This is going to take that tension, that desire for some sort of new growth, that resistance to change, and give us a crack. What's that first crack going to be? That first domino, that first rip in the veil? Well, that inciting incident is what Chris Vogler would say an increase in awareness. One of the best inciting incidents we might look at when we're talking about the climate journey is an inconvenient truth. This is an increase in awareness. This shows us something that we can't unlearn about the status quo and about the potential future. And it's with this crack in the status quo that we feel drawn into a call. This is natural. Now, this is where this is the main part of this, is that, when you know where the pitfalls, where the challenges, where the emotional resistances are going to be, then you can meet them with your full force, right? So no, after this inciting incident, after the call to adventure, whether for you it's inconvenient truth or COVID or whatever it is, there's a big gap between feeling called and actually committing to the journey. There's a need to overcome these inner resistances. We think about all the reasons we can't do it, all the skills we don't have, all the things that are going to make it hard. And if we think it's going to be easy, we're probably delusional, and we're going to learn the hard way that it's much harder than we thought. So this is the refusal of the call, the resistance of the call, the reluctant hero. That's natural, that's fine, that's okay. Don't despair when that's how you feel. Instead, look for that which will help you overcome that resistance. And what it tends to be is guidance and special tools, whether it's a lightsaber or an action plan. We're putting these in your hand because we believe by putting this in your hand, you'll be able to complete this journey. We're showing up as guides. Everybody you've met, somebody who's done part of this journey before. I'm showing you what this emotional journey might look like so that you might be able to accomplish it. Somebody else is showing you what some of the change in your organization might look like. These are guys that are coming from the journey, coming from the world you're trying to get to, and showing you how you can do the same thing. This is Gandalf. This is Obi-Wan. This is Athena. These are your guides. So we've tried to introduce you to guides and give you tools that should help you overcome that resistance and find confidence to believe that you can do it. But here's the funny thing, end of beginning. Now you've begun. Now we're in the middle. And what's the first thing that happens once you decide? You go back and forth and will I, won't I, should I not? Now you've decided I'm going to do it. And now you're eating that first bite of the elephant and you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? You jumped into the deep end and you're like, oh my God, I'm shocked, I'm freezing. This is always the case. Dorothy gets to Oz and she's like, what is going on? Right? Alice gets to Wonderland. She's like, what is going on? This is natural. Neo pukes. So when you first start the journey, you're going to feel overwhelmed. Don't be afraid. Recognize that you should feel overwhelmed. If you don't feel overwhelmed, something's wrong. That's natural. This is when you're swallowed. You feel swallowed. That's okay. It's natural to become an initiate, whether it's a secret society, for example, the Masons. They want to blindfold you. They want you to empty your cup. They want you to be disoriented so that you can be reoriented. And you need to be disoriented. You are a product of the status quo, just like all of us. We live in a gas-guzzling world, in a resource extraction model, capitalism that puts profit over stakeholders, right? We have to unlearn the old modalities. That's why it's okay to be disoriented. It's natural. This is part of the journey. You've started the journey. Now you're going to be disoriented. Now comes the reorientation. This is the fun part. This is when you learn how to use your super suit, you develop all your spider senses, or you learn what the circular economy is, what renewable energies are, and all these different new ways of thinking, totally different modalities. This is when you learn magic. This is when you learn the force. This is when you learn how to manipulate the matrix. This is when you learn the paradigms, the paradigmatic concepts, breakthroughs, ideas, tools, skills that can bring change. And obviously, naturally, these are those things that are being repressed by the status quo. So the second that you leave the status quo, the second you leave the normal world and you decide to go on this adventure, you enter into a new modality, a new paradigm. You go from waking into dream. You go from the capitalism as you know it to the capitalism that could be, that's being repressed. And you're going to grow and you're going to transform and you're going to develop a plan. But here's the thing. Your plan probably isn't going to work as planned. That's natural. That's okay. That's okay. This is when you have to learn that a plan is nothing. Planning is everything. A plan is something to deviate from. This is when you have to learn that lesson. What is it that's trying to control things? What is it that's trying to make sure things happen according to its plan? There's a part of you doing that. You might call it the ego. You might call it the will. This is that part of you gripping and trying to control the world. But the thing is that part of you, you're going to have to let it go. We're not going to have a chance to talk about all the brilliant wisdom here, but to get through the bottom of the journey, to get through the end of Act 2, this is when you go through the nadir. This is when the moon waxes to empty, when the sun reaches midnight, when we get to the winter solstice. This is the darkest night, the dark night of the soul, the dark moment, right? What happens at the dark moment? This is when Odysseus finally identifies as nobody, or Christ self-sacrifices, or the Buddha achieves no self, or anatman. This is self-sacrifice. This is ego sacrifice. This is ego death. This is when Luke kills himself in the cave when he thinks he's killing Darth Vader. We have to learn. Many of us already know you can't do anything important in this world without going through a confrontation with yourself. To do anything significant, you're going to have to go through yourself. And that's what this is about. And the thing is that ego that's trying to grip and trying to control things and make things work the way that it thought it was going to work, it's probably pushing people away. It's probably alienating others. It probably isn't attracting others to your cause, because your cause is you. You have to sacrifice the hero complex to truly be a hero. You got to give up the ego. You got to let go. If you think everybody else is a villain and you're the great hero, then I can tell you, nobody's going to want to help you. So don't despair. When you feel like all is lost, your team is breaking apart, the plan's not going as planned, just know that's where it's supposed to be. That's how it goes. That's normal. But there is a way out. There is a standard process. There is a standard response, something that's very, very, very hard. Most of us can't do it, but we have to learn to get over ourselves. Not going to get through the journey, not going to bring the change unless you can get over yourself. Do you really want to get through a journey still just thinking that you're a hero, so that at the end you just feel like a greater hero, just even more inflated? That's not how it should work. Okay, so you've done it. You've gotten to midnight. You've gotten to the new moon. You've let go. Well, what happens after midnight and the new moon? That first little sliver of light, right? What happens when we give up? What happens when we empty ourselves? Well, that's when something profound can come in. That's when the spark can come in. That's when the light bulb can come in. And this is when Prometheus steals the fire and we start the return journey. This is when fire is stolen from the heart of the whale and we start the return journey towards sunrise. And the return journey, the end, the third part, it's also got its own challenges. Expect them, anticipate them, prepare for them, meet them. Those challenges are going to be regression. What happens after you realize, oh, I need to change? I'm going to give up my addiction to oil. Regression, the threat of regression. Right? What happens? You get your boss to agree to your big plan. You have your big ordeal, your big meeting. Boss says, yes, let's do it. Let's change our company. Let's change the world. And then you go to your director of operations. And they're like, your boss didn't say that to me. Or then you go to the head of marketing and they're like, well, we can't sell that. You're going to have all kinds of resistance even after you think you've achieved the change. These are all threats of regression. This is all the momentum of the status quo returning to resist your transformation. But don't despair. This is normal. This is what you got to go through, and you will get there. And as you do, as you resist that regression, as you commit to the transformation you've made, and you commit again to bringing it to the world, this is where the climax will be. This is when the transformation in your organization will become a transformation in the world. This is when the elixir that you found will become the elixir your company is delivering. And this is how you'll redeem the wasteland. So remember these notes, remember these challenges, remember these ways that the ball can knock you in the head. And remember that if you turn and you meet it, you'll do fine. You can do well. You're going to be afraid to go on the journey. That's right. You're going to feel overwhelmed when you start. That's right. You're going to feel like it's impossible at some point. That's right. You're going to feel like you made the change and it's still all just going back to how it was. That's right. Don't despair. You can do it.